Hello, sixth graders. We are looking today at dividing decimals. So that's your title that should be written down. And our learning target that you need to write down is I can divide decimals. So the first thing we're looking at with dividing decimals is when we have a decimal number and we are dividing it by a whole number. So these are the steps that you need to follow. So step 1, place a decimal point directly above the decimal under the division bracket. Step 2, divide to find the quotient. So in your notebook, you need to have this entire box written down. So pause, write this down, and then resume. Okay, our first example here, 94 hundredths divided by 3. So my division bracket, the first number goes inside the bracket, the 94 hundredths. Second number goes on the outside. So we're seeing how many times 3 goes into 94 hundredths. Okay. So our first step, place a decimal point directly above the decimal under the division bracket. So this decimal point gets carried up above. Step 2, divide to find the quotient. So now we divide like normal. So 3 can't go into 0, so I'm going to put a 0 there as my placeholder. But now we're looking at how many times does 3 go into 9. Well, 3 goes into 9 3 times. Now we multiply. 3 times 3 is 9. Now we subtract. 9 minus 9 is 0. Now we have to bring down our next number, which is 4. Now 3 goes into 4 one time. Now we multiply. 1 times 3 is 3. Subtract again. 4 minus 3 is 1. Now in 6th grade, we do not have remainders. So you might have learned in the past that you would just write remainder 1. But in 6th grade, we are going to keep dividing until either the decimal stops or we find out that it's a repeating or not terminating decimal, which means it keeps going on and on and on. Repeating decimal means it's going to have some sort of pattern to it. So instead, I have to add a 0 and drop that 0 down. Okay. 3 goes into 10 3 times. I'm going to just kind of move this up a little bit. Now I multiply. 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract. 10 minus 9 is 1. Got to add another 0. I can't stop there. 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. But now I notice that there's a pattern. I keep getting the same thing over and over. So this is going to be a repeating decimal. That 3 is just going to keep going forever and ever. So what we do is we write it with bar notation, which means the number is repeating. So 0.313. Now just this 3 is the part that's repeating. So I put my bar notation above that 3 only to show that that 3 is going to keep going forever and ever and ever. Okay. There's our answer. Next one, 94 and 21 hundredths divided by 6. Division bracket, first number goes inside, second number on the outside. Step 1, place the decimal directly above, and now we divide like normal. 6 goes into 9 one time. 1 times 6 is 6. Subtract. 9 minus 6 is 3. Drop down the 4. 6 goes into 34. Well, 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. So that would be 5 times. 6 would be too many. 5 times 6 is 30. Subtract. 40. Drop down the 2. 6 goes into 42 7 times. 6 times 7 is 42. Subtract. Drop down our next number, which is 1. 6 goes into 1 0 times. 0 times 6 is 0. Move this up again. So I subtract. 1 minus 0 is 0. Sorry, that's wrong. 1 minus 0 is 1. Now again, I don't stop with the remainder. I add a 0 and I drop it down. 6 goes into 10 one time. 1 times 6 is 6. Subtract. 10 minus 6 is 4. Add a 0. Drop it down. So 40. That would be 6, which is 36. Subtract, which is 4. Add a 0. Again, you don't stop until you start noticing that there's a pattern here. which now I'm finding. I'm just going to keep getting these 6's, okay? So we've got another repeating decimal. So now we write that with bar notation. So 15,701. Now the 6 is the part that's repeating. So that's where we would stop writing, and we would put the bar notation only over the 6 because the 6 is the only part that is repeating. The 701, that part is not. Okay, so there's our final answer. Next is when we have a decimal and we are dividing it by a decimal. So our steps are here. Step 1, move both decimal points to the right the same number of places to make the outside number whole. Step 2, place the decimal directly above the decimal in the box like we did last time, and then divide to find the quotient. So you should have everything in this box written down, and then we will go through examples and find out what this really means. Okay, so set up our division problem. 12 and 6/10. First number goes on the inside, second number on the outside. So the step 1, move both decimal points to the right the same number of places to make the outside number whole. What exactly does that mean? Well, this number on the outside here, this 3/10, we need to make that a whole number. We're trying to get rid of the decimal. So to do that, I move it one spot to the right. So now instead of thinking of it as 3/10, we are thinking of it as 3. But in order to keep this problem the same, whatever I do to the outside number, I have to do to the number under the bracket as well. So since I moved it one spot on the outside, I move it one spot on the inside. Okay, so now we're thinking of the decimal as here. Then this is where we carry the decimal straight up above. Okay. Now we can divide like normal. So now we're thinking of it more as 126 divided by 3. Okay. 3 can't go into 1. 3 goes into 12 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. Subtract, which is 0. Drop down my next number. 3 goes into 6 twice. 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract, which is 0. Nothing else to drop down. Nothing else to keep repeating or dividing by. So here's our final answer. So this equals 42. Okay. Next one. This one we already have all set up for us. 26 and 432 thousandths, and we're dividing that by 2 and 36 hundredths. Okay. So the first step is to make this outside number whole. So we're trying to get that decimal point all the way to the right of the number. So we're going to move it 1, 2 spots. Because we moved that one 2 spots, we have to do that to the number under the bracket as well. Carry the decimal straight up above. So now we're thinking of it as 2,643 and 2/10 divided by 236. Okay, that's just kind of what we're thinking about it in our head as. Okay, so 236, it can't go into 2. It can't go into 26, but it can go into 264 one time. Okay, 2 times would be too much. Multiply 1 times 236 is 236. Now we subtract. Can't take 6 away from 4, so this becomes 5. This becomes 14. 14 minus 6 is 8. 5 minus 3 is 2. Drop down the next number. So now 236 goes into 283 one time. Multiply, that's 236. Do our subtraction. Can't take 6 away from 3, so this becomes 7. This becomes 13. Okay. Now we subtract. 13 minus 6 equals 7. 7 minus 3 is 4. Drop down my next number here, okay, which is 2. I'm going to guess that that's, let's see if it'll fit in there twice. So 236 plus 236. 6 plus 6 is 12. 3, that would be 7. 4. So it fits in there 2 times. 2 times 236, I just found out, was 472. Subtract. Nothing left over, nothing else to bring down. So my answer is 11 and 2/10. Okay. And there's a couple ways we can check to see if our answer makes sense. One, you could take the answer that you got and multiply it by the number out here. And it's also a good idea to estimate. So we could say that the number under the bracket, that was pretty close to 26, divided by 2, which that equals 13. So our answer should be pretty close to that, which 11 is, so that would be a pretty accurate answer. All right, last one. If you're feeling ready, try this on your own. 83 and 25/100ths divided by 1 and 5/10. First step, make that outside number whole, so we have to get the decimal all the way to the right, which would take 1 decimal spot. So now instead of thinking of it as 1 and 5/10, we're thinking of it as 15. The number under the bracket, move to the right 1 spot, carry it straight up above. Okay, whatever you do to the outside number, you have to do to the number under the bracket in order to keep the problem equal. So now 15, it can't go into 8, but we got to see how many times does 15 go into 83. Well, 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, that would be the most. One more time, and I think that would put us over the edge. So 15 times 5 was 75, I said. So yeah, because 6 times would be 90. 5 times 15, 75. Subtract. 13 minus 5 is 8. 7 minus 7 is 0. Drop down the 2. Okay, same thing. 15 goes into 82, I think 5 times. Okay, zoom in here a little bit. 5 times 15 was 75. Do my subtraction here. 7, 12. 12 minus 5 is 7. Drop down the 5. 15 goes into 75 5 times without going over. 15 times 5 is 75. Nothing left over, nothing else to drop down. If I had a remainder, I would have to add a 0 and drop it down. But since I got 0 here, then I'm done. So my answer, 55 and 5/10. Okay. So that is dividing decimals. Okay. If you are stuck or confused, go back and re-watch. Otherwise, practicing is good, like on iExcel. See if this is something that you can explain to somebody. That's a really good way to really check your understanding.